Hey guys, welcome to RC Video Reviews. Today we're taking a look at the Happymodel ExpressLRS receiver, the 2.4 gigahertz EP24TX and the EP2RX. And this video is sponsored by Banggood. I have to let you know that from the start. So I'd like to say thanks to Banggood for sending these two devices out for review. And if you're in the market for ExpressLRS goodies by Happymodel or any of the others for that matter, check out Banggood, give them a look, and see if they can help you out. They carry, as you know, a big collection of radio equipment and RC related stuff, planes, quads, you name it. They carry a whole bunch. So give them a look. And if they can help you out, then that's fair. So I'll start out by saying hello to everybody. Robert, how you doing? Drone Pilot, hello. William, Tam, hello. And it looks like that's everybody so far. So, hey, let's we're going to do a couple things today. This is a little bit of a hybrid solution. I did some experimenting. And I have a new way that I'm going to try and run some of these live streams so that we can take some of the variability out of the equation and still give you guys the information you need and still have the ability to have an interactive video. So with that said, here's what's going to happen. The first thing we're going to do is just put the little box together. I'm going to just show people how the box goes together. So it's not all that difficult to do, but we're going to do that real quick. And then once that's done, I'm going to add the LUA script to the radio, show you guys how to add the LUA, where to get it. And then after that, I've got a video for you to watch. The video is pre-recorded. That's where I did all the work and took all the variability and the wait time and the internet and all that stuff out of the equation. So that's the game plan. We're going to try it and see how it works out tonight. And then after that, we'll come back to live and I'll take questions. We can chat, whatever you guys, wherever you guys want to go with it. So with that, thanks again to Banggood for sponsoring the video, and look for more flights on this ExpressLRS because you guys know, my Just Say No to Free Sky project is well underway. This definitely fits in that category. And I'll be flying this receiver and transmitter combo on the brand new Chimera, the iFlight Chimera 7 that I just put together. So lots more to come on this platform, to be sure. All right, with that said, there are a couple of different options for project boxes, and I'll tell you that the one that I got is the original white one, and that thing doesn't have a real good following out there. A lot of people aren't real happy with that one, but they just released another one that's got a little fan enclosure on the back. So I may have to get my hands on one of those and try installing the fan. But as far as the connectivity goes for the box, the main thing to do is you'll see in the box. Oh, and by the way, I've done some 3D printed boxes too, and they work fine. As if you can 3D print, maybe you can use one of these. I managed to get my hands on some project boxes from Radio Master, and the reason I like these is because they're a nice finished look, injection molded plastic and all that stuff. But whatever you do, any of the JR project box options out there work pretty well. We'll start out, I'm just going to take a little piece of double-sided tape, and let me warn you guys about this. Don't get crazy with the double-sided tape, because the first time you have to take one of these apart, if you've got this thing welded in there, you're really not going to be happy with it. So just a little bit of double-sided tape, and the transmitter actually comes with some foam. I've already had mine in and out several times, so my foam's a little bit trashed. But just a little bit of double-sided tape, that's all you need. You don't have to be crazy about it. And the other thing I'll recommend before you put it together is go ahead and attach this MMCX connector before you put it in. It's a lot easier to do this with this board out of the box than in the box. Trust me on that. It's a lot easier to do it that way. So once you've got your MMCX pigtail connected, just lay this in and pay attention to the holes in the bottom. You see the little holes where the pins come through on the back of the radio right there? You want those lined up with the holes on the card, obviously. Okay. So once you have those lined up, just kind of give it a little push and let it rest down in there. And then with that done, I have all these little screws. Are they going to fall out? No, they're not. One other thing, if you've never done this before, I'll just point out is that these SMA barrel connectors, they have a flat spot, and most of the holders that you put them in, they also have a flat spot. So notice there's a flat spot right here, and there's a flat spot right there on the SMA barrel. You just have to get those to line up when you're putting things together. So let's do that. And I don't want to tension the antenna lead any more than I have to. And this is not a lot of fun, to be honest. I need my glasses. Let's see what's going on. Micro Helijon, hello from Singapore. Wow, cool. Hey, Philip. Philip's from Australia. Robert's from Canada, drone pilots from Australia. We're all over the place tonight. That's awesome. I love it. I love it when we do that. Okay, I'm going to try this again now that I can actually see what I'm doing. In theory, I'm not going to lie, this is not a lot of fun to do. To get this thing fed through there, it's a little bit, what do you say, fiddly? No, this is going to be this is going to wind up being half the video. All right, I'm going to just give this a little bend and try it again. Almost. Nope. It almost feels like it's just a little bit too tight. I've done this before, so if you guys struggle with this, don't be afraid to take a little bit off on the plastic. It's not that big of a deal. Just take a hobby knife and just scrape just a scrape or two off. The nut is what holds it in place anyway. I mean, we don't really spend a lot of time playing with these things. I gotta find, there's the flat spot. The trick is getting that flat spot lined up. There we go. I got you, you little bugger. There we go. Got it started. I'm gonna put the locking washer on the top, put the nut on the top. This is not exactly invigorating video, I know that. But if you've never seen one of these boxes put together before, I wouldn't want you to look at the pictures on the websites and think, man, I don't know what the heck I'm doing with that. This is really very easy to do. It's not that hard to do. So once you have the barrel connector through there, just wrench it down a little bit. Don't monkey fist it. Just get it snug, and that's about it. And then with that done, you just take your antenna, put it on the top, screw it in there, and then we'll just lay the cover down over the top, and make sure you get that the right way too. I've done that so many times before. Your connectors are down here at the bottom, the antenna goes over the top. Just make sure your MMCX pigtail is not bound up and it lays in there clean, and then just take a screwdriver and we'll finish the job off. Again, I know it's not invigorating video for those of you who've done this kind of thing before, but if you've never put one of these together, it might be intimidating. So be patient, be nice. And I did, oh, there it is, I found it. I thought for sure I lost a screw, and I thought for sure it was going to wind up inside the box. That's my luck. Man, you guys have no idea what I went through with the video. I filmed the video today for the flashing work, the computer work, 3 times. I'm not kidding. 3 times. All right. So there we go. There's the box. And all we need to do with the box now is we're going to just put it in the back of the radio. So we've got our Radio Master TX16S jumper, any radio you have that has this JR bay. All you've got to do is just slide it in the back. And the one thing I'll caution you on is watch out for the pins. Those pins are kind of long. They're pliable. Just make sure when you set it in square, and don't force it. If it feels at all like it's not lined up correctly, don't force it. Pull it back out and line it up again. And you'll feel the pin will make it into that pin header. You'll feel it when it happens, and it'll just kind of drop into place. And right now, mine's actually being a little bit stubborn. So don't force it. That's all I can tell you. Those pins have to go. There we go. I think that's it. Those pins have to go into that pin header correctly. And if you don't do that right, you're not going to be a happy camper. All right. That's it for the construction of the box. Real simple part. Hello from Singapore, Philip Jang. Let's see. Hi, we are 7 in the morning here. Oh, 7 in the morning. It's all good. All right. I was kind of expecting to look over our comments and see some jokes. I knew that was coming. All right. So with that done, the next thing we're going to do is I wanted to show you on my screen. Notice I don't have ExpressLRS. Oh, this is frozen. So I'm going to press the system button, and notice I don't have Edgetx in there anywhere, okay? There's nothing about, not Edgetx, ExpressLRS. No LUA script, okay? So I'm just going to connect my USB cable to the top of the radio. When I do that, we have an option for USB storage. So there we go. I've got USB storage enabled. Now I'm going to switch over to a workspace, and You guys can still see the radio down here, and my two little pop-ups popped up. We'll cover this software in just a moment. The ExpressLRS configurator, we're going to get into that. Be patient. But I wanted to show you in the configurator where you get the LUA script. So the LUA script is available right here. You see this option that says download LUA script right there on the left? We'll click on that. Oh, by the way, before you do, make sure you select your release candidate and the target. All right. I don't really think it matters in the end, but it's wise to do it anyway. In fact, I'm not even sure this LUA script pops up unless you have your release candidate and target selected. But anyway, there's the option to download the LUA script. Just click on that and you see how it says file name ELRS. I'm just going to navigate to my SD card that I just plugged in. I'm going to go to the scripts directory, tools, and I'm just going to hit save. And that will put the LUA script on the radio. So with that done, we'll go back to the big camera. I'll pull the SD or the USB cable out, click on the system button, and you can see there's ELRS. It's right there. So when I click on that, we should see a connection to my module. And yep, I'm not seeing a connection to my module. And I hope I got those pins in there the right way. Let's try it again. There it is. I was worried that I didn't get the pins. I'm sitting here telling you, be careful about the pins. And I was worried I didn't get them right. So there we go. We got a connection. That's it. That's the LUA script. So it's that simple. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is now I'm going to queue up the video, and I want to share the video with you guys. And the idea behind the video, now you might sit there and say, well, wait a minute. Why do we have to flash and bind and do all? Okay. When you look at the description for ExpressLRS, the 2.4 gigahertz transmitter and receive module, from Happymodel, they say flat out that they did not ship the transmitter with a production firmware, and that production firmware was on the way when they started shipping. So they straight up recommend upgrading your firmware when you get the receiver. Okay. So that's why I'm going to show you how to do it. And then the other reason I want to show you how to do it is because ExpressLRS is kind of moving a lot like Edge at a rapid pace. So you're going to want to know how to keep up with the firmware updates as they come out. And there's a third option, and the third option is that they have this thing called a binding phrase. And when you put the same binding phrase on your transmitter and your receiver, you don't have to bind anything. They just see each other and bind automatically. Okay, one last thing I want to show you before I queue up the video. I want to show you the receiver itself. So you guys have seen the transmitter. We just put the box together. This little guy right there, and this thing is really close to the monitor, that's the receiver. That little tiny cross right there under my finger is the antenna, and that's the 2.4 gigahertz receiver for the ExpressLRS 2.4 from Happymodel. Pretty cool, huh? Real small, real small. Okay, that's it. Let me run the video. It's got about a 5-second delay before it starts, but let me get that thing fired up, let you guys watch that, and when the video's over, we'll come back and wrap up the video, the live session. Now that we have our transmitter installed on our project box and our project box and the radio, the next thing to do is build firmware for the transmitter and receiver. We need to use a tool called ExpressLRS Configurator, links in the description. Go to that website and download the configurator. On the right-hand side, there's a release option that says ExpressLRS Configurator. In the case of this video, version 0.5.3 is the latest. So we'll click on that, choose the one that's most appropriate for your platform. In my case, I'm running Windows, so I'll use the configurator setup 053 executable. Download that, and once you've downloaded it, you can run the installer and install ExpressLRS Configurator on your computer. With the configurator installed, click on the configurator tab, and under releases, we'll look for official releases, and the release option that's most current as of this video is 1.0.0 release candidate 8. The next thing we need to do is pick our target. In the case of Happymodel, scroll down to the Happymodel section, which is right here. I'm using a 2.4 gigahertz variation this time, and I'm looking for the transmitter module via Wi-Fi. We're going to upgrade this one via Wi-Fi, so we'll click on that. And then we'll also take a look at some of the options. The regulatory domain is ISM2400. No sync on alarm. What I do is look at the pop-up, and there's a sentence that'll give you an idea whether or not you want this option enabled or disabled. This particular option says it's useful for racing when there are less time and packets wasted on sending sync packets. However, if you're doing range, keep this turned off because of a sustained failsafe. A link cannot be regained while armed, so we'll leave that off. Feature OpenTX Sync. This option lowers latency and should be kept enabled. Done deal. Use 500 Hertz. Definitely want that. Hybrid switches. There's a sentence in here that says, for all use cases besides absolute speed, we recommend using hybrid switches. Done deal. Telemetry. I want that. And then TLM report interval for OpenTX. The default is 320. Let's just go ahead and leave it there. You are inverted. It says enables compatibility with radios that output inverted crossfire such as FreeSky QX7, TBS Tango 2, Radiomaster TX16S. So I'm using a TX16S, therefore I'll leave that checked. The binding phrase, that's a very cool little option. It lets you bind your transmitter to your receiver without pressing any buttons. Highly recommend you use this. I used ABC123. If you're going to fly with people who use ExpressLRS, you might want to choose something a little more complicated. And that's it. So the next thing we'll do is click on Build. If this is the first time you've built a firmware using ExpressLRS Configurator, it will take some time. Don't worry about it. Just let the tool do its job. And when you're done, you'll be presented with a nice little firmware build and a pop-up window. They'll point right at it for you. Okay, there's the firmware. I'm going to copy that to the desktop. Now that we have our transmitter firmware built, the next thing we'll do is go to the radio, press the system button, and run the ExpressLRS LUA. Go down to Wi-Fi update, press the jog dial once, and you'll notice a URL here that says go to 10.0.0.1 in your browser. Before we can do that, we need to make sure we connect to that hotspot network on our computer. And you can see that I've got a connection already. I'll fire up my browser and we'll go to 10.0.0.1. And there's the ExpressLRS landing page. The next thing we'll do is scroll down to the bottom and click Choose File. And we'll select the firmware file that we just created. And we'll click Update. Now during the update process, I've seen some different kind of statuses at the end. Most often, the best one to look out for is when this URL on the transmitter goes from go to HTTP 10.0.0.1 to ExpressLRS with some type of build code. So there's a status update that says OK in the browser, and then you can see we have ExpressLRS 98310A on the transmitter screen. That means we've got a successful firmware update. The next thing we'll do is go back to the configurator and hit back. There is an option to build your receiver firmware and upgrade it via Wi-Fi. All I can tell you is I've had a pretty bad experience doing this. It's very non-deterministic. I've seen the receiver go in and out of hotspot mode. I've tried 3 different computers. It's very frustrating. I've not had personal luck doing it this way. However, the upgrade via Betaflight pass-through has been flawless. So what I'll suggest to you is connect your receiver to Betaflight, turn on the crossfire configuration in Betaflight. Don't worry if you haven't bound it yet, it's okay. Betaflight will then be able to talk to the receiver. That method has been flawless. So I'm going to click Happymodel EP, because I'm using an EP receiver, 2400RX via Betaflight pass-through. We'll go through the options again real quick. We'll stick with the regulatory domain of 2400. No sync on alarm is off. Lock on first connection. Read the help file for that. This allows the RX to cycle, but once a connection has been established, the RX will no longer cycle through RF modes until it receives a reset. That seems like a good idea to me. I do want to use 500 Hertz. I don't have a diversity antenna, so I'll leave that off. Hybrid switches should be on. Telemetry in my case is on. The auto Wi-Fi on interval is set at 20 seconds. You can set that to something longer if you want, but basically this is what turns on the Wi-Fi hotspot when the receiver hasn't received a bind. So once it's been powered on for 20 seconds, it automatically enables the hotspot. The binding phrase, remember, on our transmitter we had ABC123. We want to keep that the same on the receiver, and that's it. Before we hit build and flash, let's make sure to turn off the transmitter. The last thing we want is for the transmitter to try and talk to the receiver during a firmware upgrade. Then we'll connect a USB cable to the flight controller so that we can get that connected to your computer. Next, we'll bring up Betaflight and hit connect. We just want to make sure that we have good communications between the desktop computer and the flight controller. Once we verified that, go ahead and hit disconnect, minimize Betaflight, and then click on Build in Flash. If you've never built a firmware, again, this may take some time. On my machine, I've built them several times now, so it runs through it pretty quickly. You can see I got writing status messages with percentages right there, so that's a good sign that we're actually updating the receiver. Okay, the result is success. The next thing we'll do is just turn on the radio to make sure we can get a bind.
Welcome to Edgetx.
And you see right there I've got link quality, and then I'll click on the model button and go back a page and take a look at telemetry, and there's all my telemetry values. So there you go. Now you know how to flash your transmitter and receiver for a Happymodel ExpressLRS 2.4 gigahertz setup. And I do recommend running it through Betaflight for the receiver. I've tried several times with Wi-Fi. It's very non-deterministic. I have much better success flashing directly through Betaflight. All right, guys, there you go. That's the up and down on creating your configuration for your firmware build, building the firmware, flashing the transmitter, flashing the receiver. I have been able to flash via Wi-Fi on the receiver, although it's been very hit or miss. The one laptop that I really actually had the initial success on, I tried doing that again for the video, and during the video, it kept saying cannot connect to Wi-Fi. It saw it, but it wouldn't connect no matter what I did. Reboot, power off, full power cycle on the laptop. Nothing I did would, it's kludgy. It's not what it needs to be yet. The good news is that once you get your binding phrase on there, keep an eye on the firmware updates from the ExpressLRS team. And if you don't see anything you have to have, you don't need to worry about it. It'll fly, right? It'll fly. And it definitely binds. Like as soon as you saw in the video, as soon as I powered up the transmitter and had the receiver with the same binding phrase, that was it. That's all I had to do. No button presses, no nothing. So that's it. That's the up and down on this video. I'd be happy to take your questions if you guys have any. One other thing while I wait for that, I want to show you real quick. One of the real advantages of using Edgetx is that they baked Crossfire Shot into the firmware. So what I want to do is show you I'll show you the packet rate at 200. Let's see, 200. Let's do 150. And what should happen is we should see 150, but I'm not seeing it. So, okay, something's not working correctly, because what should happen is that number, the good packets, should match your packet rate. I'm going to try lowering it just a little bit to see what happens. Let's just try. Now, I kind of wonder if I have to be bound to a receiver. I don't think I should. No, it's not lowering it. So I'll have to look into that. It could be something to do with the firmware that I have on the radio. Don't get too upset about that, but I do know that Crossfire Shot is baked in. So I'll do a little bit of investigative journalism to figure out what's happening there. But the bottom line is that packet rate should match the good packet rate up on this top bar. And that indicates that you've got Crossfire Shot working. So like I said, I may have just done something wrong. And I've been fooling around with different firmware loads on Edgetx anyway, so I'm not sure. It could be any number of things. So let's see. Robert says, can't wait to try it. I'm in the process of changing over all my R9 to ExpressLRS. That's cool. Yeah, and the receivers, they're $11. That's the other cool thing. These little receivers are $11. There's nothing to it. Tim Smith says, hi all from England. Well, hi Tim, how are you? And Robert Burrow probably recorded in the man cave. Yeah, it definitely was recorded in the den. There's no doubt about that. I just noticed for some reason I'm getting hung up on that script. I kind of wonder if that's got something to do with it too. But like I said, I've been playing around with Edgetx, downloading all kinds of crazy stuff and flashing stuff all over the place. So I'm not going to hold that against the module just yet. But anyway, yeah, definitely filmed in the man cave. And I do have to admit though, guys, I've already flown this. So I've flown this arrangement. Weather has been a challenge, so I can't do a traditional maiden. But I wanted to get some flight time. I wanted to try out Edge. I wanted to try out ExpressLRS 2.4. So I did some local flying, just a couple of quick up and down flights to see how things would work, and it works fine. I didn't have any control issues, didn't have any telemetry issues. Everything seemed to be just fine on this setup. So that's on the new Chimera with Edgetx and ExpressLRS. So it is the latest and greatest for sure. Well, listen, I don't see any questions popping up in the chat. I think I've kind of covered the material front to back. And barring any questions, I don't see any reason to push through on this. I think we can call it a video. So I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know new material hits the channel. I'll keep playing around with this and see if I can come up with an answer. Check out the comment section. When I figure out what's going on with the packet rate, I'll let you guys know. I'll put a comment in there and we'll figure that out. So with that said, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for joining me on this video. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Take it easy.